The 2025 International DIRFloortime Conference, live online October 19th to 28th, a unique 10-day conference with dozens of engaging presentations on the practical application of DIRFloortime for professionals and parents alike. Early bird discount if you register by October 1st for 20% off. DIR Parent Network members get 25% off. On Tuesday, October 28th, Dr. Robert Nassif and I will be presenting The Good or Bad, Hard to Say Parable, Navigating the Complexities of Autistic Support Needs. Hope to see you there. Affect Autism, in its 10th year of providing free supportive content for your DIR journey.
All of Affect Autism's podcasts are produced and edited by Daria Brown. Please note that the views expressed during all episodes are solely those of the individuals involved, do not constitute educational or medical advice, and do not necessarily reflect the views of Affect Autism, Daria Brown, nor ICDL and associated parties. Listeners should consult with professionals familiar with their individual circumstances for specific support.
You're listening to the We Chose Play podcast from Affect Autism, where affect is the #1 tool we use in supporting development through playful interactions.
Welcome, Floor Timers. I am thrilled to have another Spanish language podcast for you, English and Spanish. I will be doing the English one. You can look at affectautism.com for the Spanish one with Mari Santiago. I have two wonderful guests today from Ecuador. Carolina Sosa Carrero is an educator in music, movement, and language with a master's degree in early intervention and child development. She is a very enthusiastic learner about regulation and communication, having taken a Gestalt language course with Marge Blanc, and she uses puppets and theater in her clinic with families. She is the first DIRFloortime Expert Training Leader in Ecuador. Welcome, Carolina.
Hi, everybody. So happy to be here.
We also have Gaby Cabezas, and she has a communications and literature degree with a master's in English language. She is currently working as an English teacher and writes science fiction. She is very enthusiastic about DIRFloortime. Welcome, Gaby.
Hi, Daria. Hi, everybody. I'm glad I'm here.
So happy to have you guys and hear all about Floortime in Ecuador and some of the projects that you're working on, Carolina. So tell us first, Carolina, how did you discover Floortime, and tell us how that developed in Ecuador, and including your ties with Gaby Michaca in Mexico?
Okay. When I was at university, I met a teacher, and she presented me another person, Belén Camacho. And I'm not sure, but I think she met Greenspan in person. She came with all ideas about DIR to Ecuador. So she started a clinic. So I was part of her team. So I work with a group of kids in a play group. So I start to learn about DIR, but I didn't have yet the certification or training about DIRFloortime, but that center was like developed by DIRFloortime philosophy and ideas. Belén also, she did the PhD about mental health and child development in Fielding University. So she was very committed about teaching us about DIRFloortime. So when I decided to finish the working in that place, I started my training in ICDL. That was like many years ago, maybe 7 years ago. And I started my first clinic with another colleague that she also has a training in DIR. In the beginning was having a clinic that has this DIR philosophy and work with a team, all training by this beautiful model. So, yeah. And then, the pandemic comes, and I decide to open my own clinic, and I start my 202 proficiency in ICDL. So I met Gaby Michaca's teacher, and at the end of 202, I said I want to learn with Gaby because Gaby is a great mentor. She knows a lot, and I want to work with Gaby because I want to learn many things from her about DIR and having more supervision and growing my clinic with her mentorship. So I decided to have mentor with her, and I have been in mentorship with Gaby, I think 6 years, maybe. And every month we meet for clinic supervision. And I have been learning many things with about DIR, about child development, about sensory integration, about working and coaching families here in Ecuador. And 2 years ago, I decided and I offered Gaby, and we were checking the idea of having the first one-on-one in person in Quito. So it was a big challenge because having one course, the one-on-one course here could be like could be difficult because people and professionals here in Ecuador and families, they were looking to ABA models and other approaches. So when we decided to do this one-on-one, we decided to did that course with Samuel Cartaya, that is a music therapist. So he's influencer, and he was also having training in DIR basic like certification. So he helped us like doing communication in the first time, and we like we just jumped on one-on-one challenge course in person, and that was great. We got like 60 professionals and families that went to that course. And after that, we decided with Gaby this year, because I finished all the certification, I became the training leader, and we decided to do another one-on-one, but together this year. And that this year we got also 70, almost 70 professionals in our course. So that was amazing, because we are like building a community about DIR floor time here in Ecuador. That is not, it's not easy, because approaches are more focused on behaviors and more focused on other kind of approaches. But DIR is now more known here in professional frameworks, and many occupational therapies, speech therapists, and psychologists are very interested right now in having like or doing the training with ICDL. So we are so happy. We are a small community, but we are growing, like I think, very fast right now.
That's amazing. I'm gonna have to come to Quito and visit you guys sometime. I've never been to South America.
Great.
I just want to point out that Catalina has an incredible Instagram that I will link to at the blog post. And as does your friend Samuel, as you mentioned, the influencer who's a music educator. And his style and everything is so naturally floor time. And I talk about this a lot, that you can have people who take all of the training but just don't seem to get it and be able to attune naturally to children. And then you have people like Samuel, who you mentioned he did take some basic training, but you can tell that that's just naturally how he is with others. And it's just so lovely to see. And so tell us, Gaby, what attracted you to floor time? And I guess part of being friends with Catalina has been a big influence.
I was helping Caro with to edit her dissertation. Like, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago or something like that. And she would tell me about the DIR floor time. She would tell me a lot about it while we worked, because she would be writing her dissertation, and she would, like, we were at the same office. Then she would send it to me, and I would be working, like, editing what she just wrote, and like, because she had to finish it like kind of fast and everything. And yeah, like in the break time, she would tell me about DIR, and it would be amazing. And yeah, I felt really drawn to it, because we are in Ecuador, which is a developing country. And that means that here, people really don't talk about autism. And when they do, it's, I don't know, it's something they don't understand. And as Caro said, like, people are more, they lean more towards ABA kind of therapy. So for me, hearing about this, it was like, wow, this is like such a game changer. I can't believe this exists. there are other things. I have seen Caro work, and it has been amazing. Like, she really goes into the flow with children. I've never seen anybody do that, and she really understands what they need. So I've been in awe with all of that. And there are things, for example, there. Caro was telling me about a boy she worked with when he was a child, and now he's a teenager. And the thing is, like he was I don't know, she worked with him to see if there was anything that he needed to improve on, like um especially like things related to his body, and he's doing okay because he did DIR floor time when he was a kid. And I was thinking, I have reflexes I haven't integrated yet into my body. And I have had so many issues. Like, for example, I have chronic pain caused by a lot of anxiety and things that I haven't integrated into my body and my life. And I wonder always, like, what would have happened? What would have happened if when I was a kid, I had DIR, I don't know, the access to DIR yeah, that would have been amazing, because now things are harder, right? I have to do it in a different way. And seeing all that DIR does for children, for me, is, I don't know, I just think it's incredible. And I'm glad I know Caro. I'm glad I've known DIR through her, that she's shared a lot of things with me. I've read some things about DIR thanks to her. And it just, for me, it means that, like, she's making the world a better place for autistic children, neurodivergent children.
I love that. Now, did you sit in on the DIR 101 Introduction to Floor Time course?
No, I didn't.
Yet.
Yeah, but I will. Yes. I mean, I wasn't part of, like, one day I did see, but like in the first time Gaby Michaca came to Ecuador, because I was helping volunteering with the whole thing, and I did see it one day, but I didn't see it 2 days because it was a 2-day kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's in your future.
Yeah.
So, yeah, either one of you want to talk about the idea for the podcast?
Yeah, and then we meet each other when we were teenagers. So right now we have like a long lasting relationship. So, and both discovered that we are neurodivergent as adults. So we are thriving this path together. Yeah, yeah. And so we are so happy to be friends and understand each other and have acceptance. And right now we want to talk these topics that we were talking.
We usually get
Yeah.
together, and then we end up talking about like a different topic every time, about, I don't know, being neurodivergent when you're an adult, like discovering you're neurodivergent when you're an adult, and all these things that you have to live through that neurotypical people don't go through. So we said, like, instead of talking to each other about these, maybe we could do a podcast.
Yeah, and then this idea developed, and I talked with Daria and said, yes, I would like to start a podcast that talk about like how is being neurodivergent as an adult, and also talking about DIR floor time in Spanish, because I think one thing that I thought that is very important for us as Ecuador or Latin America is that we don't have access to this information because it's in English. And I really want to start this podcast because I want to spread out DIR floor time in Spanish. So I would like that more families and more professionals and more people know about DIR floor time. And they said they have options. So they said, okay, I have more options to have an approach or to have a support here. Like, so we would like to spread like DIR floor time in Spanish. This is our goal, I think.
Yeah, like, so the podcast will have 2 parts, right?
Yeah.
The first part will be talking about being discovering your neurodivergent when you're an adult, and all these challenges you have to face. And the second part is the DIR, like the DIR floor time part, which is going to be called
Tejiendo relaciones,
which would be weaving relationships in English.
Ah, I love that. That's amazing. I'm so excited for this. I think that's going to be fabulous.
Yeah, and yes, we just want to jump in this idea, and yes, I make it happen because we have been talking about this like 2 years ago, and right now we said is the moment to start right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, through this podcast, we could also be building community and helping people. As we said, like, as I said here, it's not really that common to have, like, hear things about autism. And if it's coming from this place, which is DIR, which is like so different from what people are used to, which would be ABA, it's just gonna, I don't know, we could really be helping people, which is like, I guess, the main goal.
Yeah, and we want to also speak about the science that is behind DIR because many people and professionals here in Latin America think that playing is not like enough and building relationships is not enough, but it's the whole thing, is doing the whole thing. And yeah, I think that we are going to also talk about researchers, and we are going to talk about science, and we are going to talk about also neuroaffirmative practice. Like we want to also speak um, respect about autism community here in Ecuador too. So we are going to also talk about this uh, with this lens, DIR lens in.
Yes, and like this second part will probably have a lot of people we will interview, like people that are experts on DIR can tell us things on DIR, like Gaby Cabezas.
Yeah, and I am very lucky person because I know all the training leaders that that are training in Spanish. So I was their students in a moment, but right now we are all training leaders. So I know all the trainings. So we are building community. So in Spanish, so I feel that this podcast is going to be like a game changer, as Gaby said, like for communities here in Latin America, and families know more about how to approach, how to communicate, how to engage, how to understand their sons, and also families. Because one thing that I am working here in Ecuador is supporting families and kids because I am doing a lot of coaching because I am working in early intervention framework. So I work a lot with families, and families needs a lot of support about how to relate with their kids and how to understand their unique profile, how to understand the developmental part. So they meet their one of the things or the goal is like families would know meet their kids where they are is one thing that we really want to happen in this podcast, like having new information but new sensibility to understand in a holistic way, like development, relationships, play, and unique profile. So
The name of the podcast will be Ecos Neurodivergentes, which means neurodivergent echoes. The first part is just like us talking about like being a neurodivergent adult. And the second one is called Tejiendo Relaciones, and that's the part where we talk with people that are like DIR professionals and we talk about DIR.
I am thinking that now we've been on this kick for the last few months, like let's translate as much as we can in the parent network to Spanish for the parents. But I foresee us having to translate your stuff into English for our English families because it's going to be so incredible. I'm so excited for you guys about this. Maybe I'm going to be taking Madi out for lunch in Toronto once a month and having her translate everything for me.
By the end of September, we will have our first
yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay. This is good. Okay. So I will tell you that, and I've said this in other places and posted on Instagram, there's such a huge wave of podcasts now in English that I've been listening to that have so many listeners and so many followers. It's just like taken off, like about the neurodivergent experience in adults and the parent neurodivergent experience. I'll just throw a few out, and this is so popular. So I think the need is there for sure, and I think it's going to take off for sure, your podcast.
I think in Spanish, it's going to be one of the like first ones, especially to talk about DIR.
Yeah.
So it's like, even though like in English there have been many podcasts by now, in Spanish it's gonna be like a new thing.
Yeah.
For sure. And yeah, I've been listening to Divergent Conversations with a psychologist and a professional counselor. I've been listening to the Neurodivergent Experience with two young men in England. I've been listening to Neuroshambles from England, which is a parent of 3 neurodivergent children. Um, I've been listening to the Autistic Culture podcast, which, you know, has both advocacy episodes as well as cultural episodes where they just talk about different things in pop culture that are very autistic, whether they're literally autistic or not, just like the types of things that they have 10 pillars of autistic culture, and, you know, things that make people who have this different neurotype attracted to these types of things, like predicting comfort and routines and things like that. And anyway, and then Meet My Autistic Brain is another one. And so there's all of these podcasts that are resonating so much with people. The spin on the new podcast with Terrell Burgess, who is my colleague at ICDL, is going to be along those lines as well, with the added piece of DIR floor time. And so I think that having that in Spanish is just going to be so helpful, because when you say meet the family or children where they're at, you're talking about the D in DIR floor time. Where are they developmentally, which, you know, is fluctuating at any given time. If, you know, if a rock flew through this window right now and hit me in the head, I would be dysregulated and my capacities would not be working their best. So we're always fluctuating in our capacities, but, you know, what we're trying to do is work on our child's top capacity that they currently have and stretch it just a little bit. And, you know, I've talked about that nonstop on my podcast with my son. So I think that applying that framework to adults is something that hasn't been done a lot yet. And I can see us working on that together maybe in the future, because, you know, I was just diagnosed just over a year ago, and just applying the DIR framework to self-development in adulthood is something that would be amazing too, because I think a lot of our world needs work at FEDC4, which is code for people listening that don't know what that means. Hopefully you'll get curious to dive in and learn more about floor time.
Yeah. Yeah. Working and knowing more about FDCs, and yes, and I always think about DIR as also way of also personal development.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because when I start my training, I think I have many constrictions also in regulation, in communication, so I understand how to be in like a better communication, like what I need for regulation, to like uh, having like more skills, also being a therapist in the IR floor time. And then I love like being self-reflecting, because I think this is one of the strongest like capacity that Dr. Greenspan wants to also give us as floor timers, is like having self-reflection. So I have been doing this for many, many years. And right now I feel that the IR floor time changed also not my professional life, also my personal life. So right now I feel regulated. I have like good relationships, and I being like helping my community with the things I am doing. And I think that I am doing things in a unique way, like with puppets, with theater, with art. So right now I feel that this is part of my unique profile. So I feel that DIR is like embracing me to do the things in my own style. So like being myself in DIR, being authentic also as therapist in DIR framework. So I feel that, as you said, Daria, is like a development personal with DIR floor time.
Just being friends with Caro has been like great to also like understand sometimes what I need to do and things like that, because I really didn't grow up without any knowledge of this. And like hearing Caro and like and knowing what I need has been great. Like just coming to her office and knowing that I can use her hammocks and things like that has been amazing too. I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe or maybe not, you may or may not be parents one day, but I talk about that. I wrote a book called We Chose Play, Raising an Autistic Child to Thrive and Feel Understood, which we are in the process of translating into Spanish. So
Oh,
maybe
that's
we
amazing.
will go through that on your podcast one day with maybe Madi will step in for me. We'll see. I talk about how it's such a personal growth experience for parents when you're going through floor time, because really floor time is less of an intervention for children. It's an intervention for parents. It truly is, because learning how to adjust yourself to your child's style and needs, and then balancing that with your own sensory profile and all of that stuff. So it really is a personal growth process. I agree with you completely. And, you know, I say too that DIR and all of the things in DIR, like being child-led, you know, following the child's emotional intent and tuning to the child, all of this stuff is not unique to DIR. I mean, it's just, it's common sense. It's from developmental psychology, all of this. But what's unique is the framework of DIR really helps you organize all of that in such a meaningful way that makes sense to put it into practice. So I think that's what's so important about DIR. And yeah, I'm super excited
Yeah.
to watch what you guys do with this.
Yeah, and finally, I feel that the power of relationships, because one of the things that I feel that most of families have learned doing the IR floor time in the years I have my clinic is the powerful of having like attuned relationships with their kids, and also relationships are going to have moments that synchronic, como having not being in the same canal or in the same tune. And then DIR floor time offer also the possibility to repair in relationships. So I feel that that's one of the things because it's real, it's natural, it's real. So I feel that this is one of the things we want to share with families also in the podcast, like how powerful are relationships for our development. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, it's interesting because relationships have so many layers. You can really feel safe with a person and connect like right off the bat, or you can feel this tension and discomfort. And especially if you're a child going to somebody who's expecting things from you and right off the bat you form an aversion to that, it's going to be much harder to get to that repair and feel safe with that person, but it's still possible. But there are so many different things that can tip the scale one way or the other. And that's that delicate balance that people think about as something so obvious and simple, like form a relationship with a child, but it's way more complex than that. It's like what does Maud LaRue say? Something like the complexity and the simplicity, or the simplicity and the complexity, whatever. But yeah, it's one of those things that is so essential, because relationships make us feel safe. And if you don't feel safe with somebody, good luck moving along those functional, emotional, developmental capacities in that context of that relationship.
Yeah, and one thing, as you said, I have been like thinking many years is like education framework, because I also have like training being as educator in music, movement, and language. And I think education is also a relational thing, because you have to connect with your student also to teach something, and being like having like a relationship, like knowing where are your students' interests, and also what are the profile, and being attuned and know how to communicate. And DIR in education, I feel that is something that is also well understood. But here in Ecuador, I have also my friend Dani Silva, that she's like working in a kindergarten, and whole team, they came to the 101 course, so they want to develop a kindergarten DIR floor time school also here in Ecuador. So we want that too in education, not also in clinic spaces, like also being in a kindergarten, and also having more floor time outside the clinic, because DIR floor time is you could do it everywhere and in wherever space, So, but we have to understand that. So I feel that this podcast and here in Ecuador, things are changing, and we want to have like a community more strong on having more training and having more spaces for supervision and clinic reasoning and growing together, because we want like that. That was my dream, and now it's happening. So I feel that is a big responsibility, but it's happening, and I want to do this because I really
You believe in it.
yeah, I believe in it. Yes, I am. Yes, I believe in it. Yeah.
To use a
Sure.
floor time term, I see the gleam in your eye.
Yeah.
You both have such youthful energy and optimism going forward, and it's going to be awesome.
One thing about Caro is that her special interest is DIR.
Yeah.
So you can see like how enthusiastic she is about it because she's always talking about it. That is why I know so much about it. And I love that she talks about it as much. Like I love to see her genuine passion in it because that's what your special interest is, right? So like listening to her talking about it, it's like there could be not like a person that is more perfect for this job than her. Like she's always has that gleam in her eyes when she's thinking about it. It's amazing.
Yes, and when you talk about education, I think about kids in school, and as children, I have a master's in psychology, so I always am thinking of things from a psychological perspective. Kids write stories and narratives in their mind about things that happen that are often not true. So a teacher might just do some little thing and automatically the child thinks they don't like me, or I'm not lovable, or children are always making these narratives up. And what we tend to remember the most is what we've learned from these teachers that we have this great connection with. Like everybody remembers their favorite teacher from their childhood and what they learned in that class. Or sometimes a teacher, maybe it's a science teacher, I've heard people say, like, turned them on to this certain hobby that then becomes a career because of that teacher and that connection. So I really hear you on that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the point. Yeah. Yes, having like I am really grateful with Belén Camacho. That was the first person I know, and she also saw something in me about being very like I fall in love with the IR floor time like at the first moment, and she knows that, and she let me grow in her clinic, and then I have my own clinic. So I hope she hear this podcast and know that I'm very grateful about that, and not like shining, like she knows that something was like cooking inside myself, and right now I am doing this, and I feel very grateful because of her I know the IR floor time. So I am so grateful with Belén. Yeah.
And I feel grateful to have met Gaby in person. She was at the ICDL conference in New York City a couple years ago. So I got to meet her. And I will link in the blog post to the podcast with Gaby that I did. And I also will link to the podcast with Maite about her school that she started.
Yucatan.
The school that she started in Merida in Yucatan. And so that will be linked to as well. And Maite is so wonderful. She's helping us so much with translation and everything too.
Building communities in Spanish. So I feel that, yes, that
there needs to be more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the beginning of, it's just the beginning.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, having like a seed, like right now where we have like a seed, we hope that more people join us in this
endeavor.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've planted the seed, and we're waiting for the plant to bloom and take off.
Yeah, exactly. In our communities, yes. And I also one day meet Maite's school, because I would like also to know more about how it works in schools, because I feel that this is another step that we have to do in one point, like having this also in educational spaces too.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, for people that haven't heard, I'll refer back to the podcast, the first edition of Autistic Moms Chatting that I did with Dr. Angela Kingdon and Michelle Rose, where it was all about creating community. in a totally different context, but not really a different context, but about how we feel so alone as parents, and our children are so isolated, and a lot of parents have to pull their children from public school, and how can we make communities to really safeguard our families, and when we don't fit into a society that's not made for us, kind of thing. So I'll refer people to that. But I just wanted to say that, yeah, that relationships and community really are everything, because, think about people that grow up feeling different and isolated, and especially when you have a lot more high support needs and you can't communicate with others in the way that you want, you're misunderstood. Finding a community where you feel like you belong just lifts the stress so much, even if for, in parent support meetings once a week for 1 hour, you lift that stress because other people see you and understand what you're going through, and just having that support is so, so important. So I love that DIR connects all of us internationally around the world. I'll link people to the DIR dialogues with the Floor Time Around the World, which was just a very small segment of people that we have internationally in Floor Time. So thank you for being part of this community, and thank you for all you've done and that you're going to do to make this community amazing.
No problem. Thanks to you for having us in your podcast.
Yeah, we are so happy, and yes, everybody very soon they are going to know about the podcast, and we hope having you as listener or so as guest in our podcast. So let us know. We are going to send Daria our email. So maybe if you are interested in one topic, we will talk about that topic too. So we're
open.
We're open. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So please go to affectautism.com, and you can type in the search bar Ecuador or Catalina. If you type in Gaby, you'll get 2 Gabys. You'll get Gaby from Mexico and this Gaby.
And Gaby from Ecuador.
Yep. Yeah. And then you'll be able to see the Spanish version of this podcast if you are bilingual but prefer to hear it in Spanish, or to forward it to your Spanish friends or colleagues to hear. So thank you both so much.
Thank you, Daria.
Thank you, Daria. This has been a great experience.
Yeah.
Until next time, here's to choosing play and experiencing joy every day. We chose play, raising an autistic child to thrive and feel understood. My new book is now available for purchase at your preferred online bookseller, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and others. I hope you'll check it out and let me know your thoughts about it. Learn more at affectautism.com/wechoseplay, all one word.